Three critical elements of being a successful leader are decision making, delegation, and developing your people. Let's talk about that right now. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, we inspire. And we are towards the tail end of a series on leadership based upon the book Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun by Wes Roberts, PhD, giving us so many great nuggets. And we have a lot more for you, so let's get right to it. First one, every decision involves some risk. If a decision that you're making as a leader doesn't involve risk, then there's really no need for leadership. Does that make sense? All right. So I mean, if you're in a position where you have to make the leader, you have to weigh this can be the outcome or that can be the outcome. There's going to be some risk involved. Hey, that's part of the game. It's like Eli asking a lady out on a date. There's some risk involved. You may get your feelings hurt. The possibilities are she'll say yes or she'll say no, but it's part of the game. You have to understand that. Time does not always improve a situation for a king or for his Huns. Sometimes you have to be ready to move right now through anticipation. So you can't just procrastinate and put things off. Leaders don't do that. Leaders recognize they have to make a decision. They need to gather the facts, and then once they make the decision, once they are decisive, it's time to put the plan into action. Kind of simple, but often overlooked by the ineffective or weak leader. Fundamental errors are inescapable when the unqualified are allowed to exercise judgment and make decisions. You want to have your most experienced people making the decision. And the more difficult the decision to be made, the more experience is required in order to achieve success. You can't delegate to someone who is not qualified. All right, now you have, and that's a judgment call. There's always risks in leadership. You want to give somebody an opportunity to perform and have their grasp have their reach be beyond their grasp a little bit. Have them challenge a little bit so that they can possibly get the job done. But if it's completely out of the question, be smart. Don't assign something to someone that's totally inexperienced that is not going to make good decisions. And it's real easy to see most of the time. Quick decisions are not always the best decisions. On the other hand, unhurried decisions are not always the best decision. Gather the facts. Look at all the different possible outcomes, make a decision, and move on it. That's the way that leaders operate. Gather the facts, look at the outcomes, make a decision, act. Chieftains should never rush into confrontations. There are so many people that are going to try and be confrontational with you. I mean, especially now, we're seeing it after this pandemic as an example. I mean, on the airlines, on the planes, people are there's so many confrontations. I'm seeing it in the supermarket when I go to buy groceries. I mean, it's everywhere. People are on edge. People that are the leaders don't want to get into a confrontation. You want to pick and choose your battles carefully. Pick them carefully. So many times people get into confrontations over trivial matters that when you think about the long run, you say, why am I even bothering with that? Okay? So pick your fights and make sure it's a fight worth fighting for. A chieftain's confidence in his decision making preempts name dropping to his Huns. A lot of times when people are giving decisions, well, that's what he did or she did or whatever, but when you have the confidence, when you have the experience, you don't have to name drop. you're the man or the person or the woman or whatever you want to call it, the leader, and just because you have established yourself as the person in that position, people are going to follow because you say to do it. Name dropping is a sign of weakness. It is unfortunate when final decisions are made by chieftains headquartered miles away from the front, where they can only guess at conditions and potentialities known only to the captain on the battlefield. We talked about this so many times. As a leader, don't be a reservoir, be a river. Go around your building, go around your company, travel to the different places. You know, you just getting reports, you get like a taste, but you don't get the flavor. You want to get the flavor, and in order to get the flavor, you got to be out there with the troops. You got to be out there with the troops, and then you get a real feeling of what's going on. You get the real flavor and put yourself in a better position because you're seeing what's happening firsthand. And a lot of times when things get passed on, second hand, third hand, fourth hand, they get watered down, and that makes your decision making more difficult. When victory will not be sweet, the chieftain must keep his Huns from war. Only fight the battles that are worth fighting. The ability to make difficult decisions separates chieftains from Huns. How many times do you hear people in the rank and file say, hey, that's not my job, you know, that's way above my pay grade? You know, people say things like that. Well, leaders can't say that. And that's what separates the leader from the rank and file worker, is the ability to make these tough decisions and the ability to stick with them. You know, the person that's on the line, the person that's the worker bee says, well, I'm doing what I was told to do, as they should. You have to be a good soldier. But the leaders are the ones that have to make the difficult decisions, and the people that are the Huns tend to shy away from that, don't want to make decisions. Once again, what do you always hear? That's not my job. That's not my position. That's way above my pay grade. Keep that in mind. Wise chieftains never place their Huns in situations where their weaknesses will prevail over their strength. We're talking about division of labor. We're talking about putting people where they can make their biggest contribution, not where they can be their biggest detriment. As an example, as a basketball player, I was not the person that you wanted taking the last shot. I was not a good shooter. I was the person you wanted passing the ball to the guy taking the last shot because I was a good passer. You follow what I'm saying? Put people in scenarios where their strengths are going to rise to the top. Good Huns normally achieve what their chieftain expects from them. When you as a leader expect excellence and you've developed that over time, it's not a one-time thing. It's something that you develop over time. It's a mindset. When you've developed that mindset with your people will perform up to the level of your expectation. So make sure that your expectations are high. Make sure that your expectations are clear. Because if they're not clear, how do you expect anybody to reach them? A wise chieftain never expects his Huns to act beyond their wisdom and understanding. We've talked about that. Don't send a boy to do a man's job. Make sure that they have the capabilities to get at least 80% of the way. If they can't get to 80% of the way, then don't delegate the job to that person. Simple as that. A wise chieftain always gives tough assignments to Huns who can rise to the occasion. Give your toughest assignment to your most qualified people. It's very, very simple. You got to focus on results. As a leader, you focus on results, not activity. And the person in your entourage that gets the results is the one that gets the toughest assignments. Simple as that. Abdication is not delegation. Abdication is a sign of weakness. Delegation is a sign of strength. Abdication means, hey, I'm giving up, I'm assigning it to you, and good luck, I hope things work out for you. Delegation is, okay, this is what we want to accomplish. I'm assigning this task to you. You are accountable to make sure this task gets done. This is what I expect, and then I may inspect along the way to see how you're doing to make sure that we're getting what we expect at the end. Always have the person parrot back to you what the expectation is so that there's no question about the clarity of the assignment. Let's talk about developing chieftains, developing your leaders. You always have to be doing that. Strong chieftains always have strong weaknesses. A king's duty is to make sure a chieftain's strengths prevail. We've gone over that. Huns learn less from success than they do from failure. When something has gone along, perfectly swimmingly, when everyone's successful, all right, well, then people tend to relax. All right, they get into a comfort zone. When there has been failure and then there's been success, people learn that they have to respond to certain scenarios, certain downfalls, certain failures, and overcome them. And they learn more that way than they do if everything just comes along easily. You know that with your children. When your children have challenges and they overcome the challenges, isn't that when their greatest learning curve comes? Clearly it is. Huns learn much faster when faced with adversity. Give your people, your developing leaders, give them challenges to overcome. Then and only then will you see who your best potential leaders are, and then they only see that overcoming adversity is what being a leader is all about, is it not? Because if you don't have to overcome adversity, what do we need a leader for? A good chieftain takes risks by delegating to an inexperienced Hun in order to strengthen his leadership ability. Okay, there's a fine line. Remember, leadership is an art and a science. And while you don't want to assign a man's job to a boy, so to speak, you also need to challenge your boy, your teenager, to become a man. Does that make sense? Just like I, as a parent with Eli, who is a teenager right now, give him more and more responsibilities and challenge him to achieve them, which I would never have given to him when he was 8, 9, or 10 years old. He wasn't ready. Now he's ready. Now he has the possibility of success and the possibility of failure. It's a win-win situation because you're developing somebody in either scenario. The experience of Huns must be structured to allow them to broaden and deepen themselves to develop the character they will need when appointed a chieftain. You've got to have drill practice and rehearsal. You have to have game planning. You have to role play. That's the key thing. As a leader of leaders, you constantly role play. What do you do in this situation? How do you see that situation? What are your thoughts right here, right now? What would you do there? Think about it and get back with them. Put them in that position. They don't have to be making the decision, but get them to start thinking that way. Because if you don't get them to start thinking that way when they're doing it for the first time, there's added pressure and the possibility of failure is exponentially greater. Huns are best prepared to become chieftains when given appropriate challenges at successively higher levels of responsibility. Just said that, didn't I? If it were easy to be a chieftain, everybody would be one. Leaders lead. Most people don't want to be leaders. Most people want to be in their comfort zone. Leaders are comfortable when they're not in their comfort zone. That's what makes them leaders. So it's not easy to be a leader, but it's something that you A, have to want to do, and B, have to have some training, trial and error, in order to be successful in that endeavor. Without challenge, a Hun's potential is never realized. You've got to challenge the people that you're developing. You've got to put them out there. You've got to put them on the tightrope, walking in front, without a net. You've got to let them, see failure. and you've got to help them to recover from it, because that's what leadership is. It's not always you're going to be successful. Leadership is also about recovering from failure and adapting so that you can achieve the goals that your organization has a burning desire to achieve, your purpose for being. But without effort, without challenge, people are not going to develop. And this is a way that you can give a report card on your leaders and see who's making progress. It's not always the person that you think. Sometimes persistence pays, and you can't look into somebody's eyes and figure, are they going to be persistent or not? But the way you do that is by giving them an opportunity and seeing if they can accomplish. Appropriate stress is essential in developing chieftains. People talk about, oh, I'm so stressed, I'm feeling all this stress. People that are leaders recognize stress is a privilege of leadership. Stress is a privilege of leadership. There is no leadership unless there is some stress. Otherwise, because decisions are so easy, if decisions are easy, there's no stress. When it's difficult, that's when there's stress. That's what makes a person a successful leader. Okay, we're going to stop right here, right now. Next time, we're going to come up with some more nuggets, leadership secrets to be shared with you. Once again, big shout out to Wes Roberts, author of The Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. And until we get together next time, remember, always don't ration that passion, fashion that passion. I'm Eli's dad.